Welcome to the Being Curious Show. I'm Brian Mariani, founder of No Shift Own.
And I'm Kelly Wagner, publisher of Edge Magazine. Our show is about curiously connecting teachers and seekers on a wide range of topics in a safe space. Few topics will be off limits, and we have some amazing guests to share with you.
Our intention is that our conversations will spark your own curiosity to create a life that lights you up and inspires you to be kind, thoughtful, open-minded to yourself and others.
We are on AM 950, Sundays at 2 p.m., and all podcast platforms. So, Brian, what are you curious about today?
Whoa. All the way in Massachusetts, I can feel the energy, Kelly.
I know, man. This is going to be a good one. I'm really excited about this show.
We're so excited, everyone, because guess what? You're going to be hearing this live on the radio just before All Hallows Eve. Kind
of spooky.
So spooky.
But in an amazing
So, Kelly,
way.
who's with you there in studio?
Okay, you guys, it doesn't get any better than, no, it doesn't get better than this. Okay, so we have Barbara Moore. Hold on, I'm going to do this for everybody on Facebook Live. She is the author, creator of Trick or Treat Tarot, a new line of cards coming out from our friends at Llewellyn. So then, as we were setting up this interview, I was like, this little voice kept coming into my head. And then it became like knocking on my head. And then it went from a whisper and a knock to I want to be a part of this. So we have Witch Jodian with us today. And she's just this creator of this beautiful experience. I can't see her because I'm on the camera. In Stillwater. Midwest Witchery and Healing. You go in. It's on Main Street. Look for the little purple door. It's magical. And I just thought, as Brian and I were interviewing Barbara, to have Witch Jodi in, who is such a gift to the world and creating such a beautiful experience in Stillwater, that I wanted these two to connect, because I'm a really good connector. And I just thought that Jodi would bring in this layer and this magic and just activate this interview. So, yeah, Barbara's nodding her head. I think she feels the same way. So I'm really, really glad. Because we normally don't bring in too many guest hosts because Brian and I usually can rock it out. But Jodi's going to bring a funk and an amazing and an energy to it that's going to be just, yeah. See, we had to get Barbara kind of laughing a little bit because, we're on radio. So, it's not always like what you're doing on your everyday of being on a radio show. So your energy just shifted. So I'm super, super happy. High five, woohoo!
I know. I almost high-fived her.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay, so it's high five time. So, good. Okay. So what I would like to do, I'm going to introduce you guys, and we're going to talk about what you're curious about. But before we do that, Barbara, if you'd have the honor of pulling a card on whichever deck, let us know which deck you're going to choose. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you want to pull a card or Jodi wants to pull a card or how you guys want to do it. I want to let you guys let your divine pull it out and tell us what you get.
Well, first, you want to pull it for a specific reason.
Yeah, that'd be good.
You
pick the reason.
I'll pick the reason. Okay, what do we need to know to make this interview as fantastic as it can be?
That's a great question.
Okay.
Beautiful.
And I'm going to pull from the Trick or Treat Tarot, because that's what we're all about today.
Yes,
it is.
And I got the Knight of Cups.
What does that mean?
Oh, well, it means many, many things. But for us in this moment, it means as long as we're chasing what we consider to be our holy grail, or that which fulfills us or excites us, our passion, as long as we follow that, we're not going to go wrong.
Cool. Awesome. What does the card look like, dear?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, beautiful. Love it. Yes. The artistry is absolutely amazing.
Yes, the artist Jonathan Hunt did such a fantastic job in bringing the ideas that I had for these cards to life. So they are charming and witty and clever and friendly.
They are.
Love it.
Okay, Jodi, do you want to pull a card?
I do.
I can tell. Mm-hmm. She's over here and she's like, so Jodi wants to pull a card.
She can see all my mysticness about me. Let's go with that one.
Oh, don't you want to interpret it?
No, I don't. I don't read the tarot. I scry.
Oh, okay.
Hand it
well,
to you.
Then you pulled the Five of Pentacles. And this card kind of warns us that some people might feel left out in the cold. So let's perhaps watch our language to make sure it is general enough that anybody can understand what we're talking about.
Okay.
And nobody
That's a
feels
good
like
thing
we're
to
talking
do.
over their head or anything.
I like that.
Which is actually kind of dialing into something that we spoke about pre-interview about introducing tarot and trick-or-treating at this time of year to the AM 950 and the broader audience that's coming to listen and to engage with our beautiful show today.
That's right. I forgot.
I just
Look at
want to
that.
keep doing this, so I apologize for everybody on Facebook Live that they keep Kelly like. bloop, 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 bloop.
Don't worry, Kelly. I have a count going, and we've got some side bets. You're already at 4, and I'm not going to tell you what my bet is.
Okay, perfect.
But I'm going to win.
Okay, so ladies,
Yes.
there is something that we ask all of our guests, and it is, what are you curious about? So you can paper, rock, scissors. No, we're going to ask Barbara to
We're
go
gonna
first.
ask Barbara to go first.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so Barbara, what are you curious about? And what... let's start with that, because, oh my gosh, I just see all these bubbles coming in, and that's the problem with a radio show is I just get all these percolating ideas. So what are you curious about?
I'm curious about a bazillion things.
I can tell.
Okay, so I'm curious about something that has nothing to do with tarot.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay, I recently finished a book called The Revisionaries by, I think it's A.R. Moxon, and it was the most strange book I've ever read, and I'm curious about whether I'll ever meet anybody else who's read this book and what our conversation will be like. So that's just something. So if anybody out there has read this book, I think at the end we'll probably give email addresses or whatever. You can contact me and we can talk about it, because that would be awesome. The other thing I'm curious about that might be more relevant is I'm not really into astrology. Are you guys knowledgeable about astrology?
Kelly
much?
is.
Kelly is good. I know just enough to be dangerous. Now, I happen to know right now that Mars is in Gemini, and then it's going to be in Gemini retrograde for a long time. The little bit I know about that combination is from the Thoth Tarot. That's the astrological association for that card, and that card is called Cruelty. And the energy of this card is intense and combative and in your head. And I don't know if everybody else has this kind of going on, but I'm feeling that energy right now. Are you guys?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. It's going on, I think, for everybody because we're in Mercury retrograde right now. And there's actually 6 planets in retrograde right now. But with Mercury, because he's a communicator, correct? Mm-hmm. A lot of miscommunication. So making sure you check your emails, make sure your verbiage is correct. They say don't sign legal, contracts because there could be glitches. A lot of communication issues, lighting issues, technology issues. So a lot of people feel that. It happens, all over the world.
Yeah, so I'm just curious more about astrology at the moment because it
yes.
seems to be kind of relevant.
Absolutely. And we have lots of friends of the Edge community that could jump in. So, oh my
absolutely.
goodness, whoever you need to be connected with, that's powerful. Okay. Now you have me thinking about that. Okay.
Sorry.
No, I think it's beautiful. Okay, Witch Jody, what are you curious about today?
I am curious, and I'm going to turn it to Barbara. What made you decide to create this beautiful deck, the tarot deck, the Trick or Treat? I mean, your wizard deck is amazing. It's probably one of my very favorite tarot decks because the artistry and just the in-depthness that you put into it. So I'm curious what brought you to create the Trick or Treat one.
That's a great question. And it is actually the same reason or a similar reason that the Wizards got created. So I create many decks, and some of them are ideas that I come up with and I pitch. Sometimes my publisher asks me to fill a need, and the Wizards Tarot was that. So that was, I got invited to do that one. Similarly, I was invited to do, they were calling it the Halloween Tarot at the time, and they asked me if I was interested in doing it, and they explained that they didn't want a Samhain deck, a witch-focused Halloween deck. They wanted it to be traditional American Halloween.
Love it.
And that's a really specific thing because American Halloween is, from when I was a kid, 70s and 80s, it was all about trick-or-treating and, as an adult, going to Halloween parties. And so I thought, we'll use that. We'll focus on the trick-or-treat aspect of it. And what was kind of cool is they asked me to start this in 2019, pre-pandemic. And I was getting into the idea of it being nostalgic and making people remember these happy times. And then it's coming out right after the pandemic. And I think a lot of people who've gone through this traumatic time are looking for comfort and nostalgia, things that they can cling to and find some comfort in as we look ahead to what the world's going to become. So I think this deck came out at a really great time. One of the things I love about this deck is the imagery is, I think it's hilarious and charming and approachable, and almost every card makes me smile. So I think that's also a really great thing to have in these troubled times.
Yes, the cards, they are very beautiful. And I do see what you're saying with that, because there are so many comical ones with, like, it reminds me of trick-or-treating back in the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember when we had to wear the masks?
I do.
And you couldn't breathe. It was like the plastic cloaking. I do remember that. For children who are obviously brought up in a more current time, you know, they didn't have to go through all the ickies that we had to do back in the day. They have more fun costumes now than we had. What do you think, Kelly?
So my daughter thinks that Halloween, it's the number one, like, holiday at our house. My poor daughter was just wrapping up COVID last year when it was time for trick-or-treating. And the poor girl was, like, losing her blankety blank that she couldn't go. And it was so lovely that the day of Halloween, she took a COVID test. It was clear, and so she was able to go. And, I mean, she's already planning next year's costume. I mean, this year's done. Like, it's next year that's already, and the makeup and the ceremony. And I've never seen my daughter move so fast than going in between house and house. And what I want to do is teach her more about the ceremony of the evening and not just about the trick-or-treating. And that's something that I kind of dialed into with this deck. And it's the ceremony and the history and the beauty of this powerful time of year.
Yeah. Well, and it is a good time of year for spooky things, or things that we might think are spooky in the everyday world. But they say at this time of year, the veil is very thin. Correct. Which makes it a really great time for divination.
Absolutely.
There's so many fun divinatory, like, games. Like, I mean, they did this in the olden days, but we did it when I was a kid, where you peel an apple all in one piece, and then you throw it over your shoulder, and it's supposed to make the initial of the person you're going to marry.
The person you're going to marry. Yep, I remember that.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, you never knew that one.
I didn't.
Oh my gosh!
What?
How did you
Sheltered
not
life
know that,
for Kelly? I'm like, oh my gosh!
Wait, so I think we've all heard of the throwing of the salt over the shoulder. Did you just say an apple peel?
Yes, you would.
Okay, good. I'm not alone.
Yeah, you would peel the apple. You would do it in one swoop from the top down to the bottom, so it was one long peel, and you would throw it over your shoulder. And when you would turn around to look at it, it would form into some type of a letter, an S. Sometimes it would be a J, sometimes a C. I never saw an E, but it was, pretty distinct letters. And then that was supposed to be the first initial of the individual you were going to marry when you got married.
Wow.
It's like an old wives' tale. But you know what? We liked it. It was fun.
Well, I mean, someone who can see.
Yes,
divine,
absolutely. The divine. Mm-hmm.
You can read anything.
Absolutely.
Right? So.
Absolutely. Earlier I said I don't read the tarot. I'm intrigued by it, but I got into scrying. So I scry with the crystal ball, with water, with the black mirrors, and I actually do lace scrying, which is very ancient. You don't hear a lot about that. It was kind of a thing, Victorian area, pre-Victorian area, and you do not hear a lot about it anymore, but it's very unique. And so it's something that I'd like to teach a class on at my store.
Well, right. That would be super fascinating. I've never heard of lace scrying.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And, at this time of the year, like you were saying, Barbara, it is. The veil is thinning. And if anybody is watching, you're seeing the lights going kind of haywire in here. So Kelly is a little bit more in tune with the other side also. So I'm sure we got lots of people poking in and whatnot.
And even though I'm across the table, I can't see Jody, but I see all the guides around both of you. And you guys are like, this is really fun to watch. I'm ready to go to segment 2. Let's just do it. Like, oh my gosh, you guys there's a lot of ahead of both of you together in collaboration. It's going to be beautiful. Okay. Hey, Brian can pull us out, but Kelly and Brian and Kelly, being curious, you guys, this is a fun one. I love this show, and I'm so glad to be a part of it and curating it. We're on AM 950, edgemagazine.net, Midwest Witchery, Barbara, Trick or Treat Tarot. More to come.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the Being Curious Show. I'm Brian. That's Kelly. We're with our amazing guests. Kelly's in studio with Jody and Barbara. And we've been kind of setting the stage. We picked a couple cards in segment 1. We told a few stories. We've been really getting into, I would say, a vibe of what's happening here today. And you know what? We're gonna keep going with that, and we're gonna pick another card. So Jody, let's go for another one.
All right.
And I will say we are picking this card.
Oh yeah.
To kind of see how 2022 is going to end.
Ooh.
The year of 2022.
I'm gonna pick the card for Brian for his question.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna go all the way down here, and I'm gonna hand that to you.
Hey, Barbara.
Please don't be the tower.
I relinquish any attachment to it.
That's awesome.
Some days it feels like the tower wouldn't be a bad card to have happen to the world.
Sometimes I agree.
Right? Okay, so we have the King of Wands. Yeah, so how is this world going to end? Well, I'm going to have to say it's going to probably go out the way it's been coming in. There's a lot of energy, a lot of self-focused, self-contained energy of people who want to do what they want to do.
Okay.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah, that is one of the things that troubles me a lot is that polarization, the everyone going in different directions and not going together. But it feels like we're still going to keep going in that direction. Maybe we can pull another card.
I was just about to say, let's pull another one.
To suggest what we involved in this show or listening to the show might do to help counter this energy and maybe bring it into something more peaceful or healing.
Okay.
I'm all for that. I mean, because tarot can show you what's really going on, and sometimes things that are really going on aren't our favorite. But the other power of tarot is you can use it to find solutions to those problems.
I'm going to borrow this. I'm going to show the card. I don't know if the people can see it, but if you can see it, this is what it looks like.
And just for everyone out there who maybe has never heard of tarot or this is all new to you, what I think Barbara was saying was that based on the card that was pulled, the way we started this year is energetically how we're going to end the year. And now we're going to pick another card and we're going to go, okay, now that we're there, how can we all do our part to make it better, to get more connected with ourselves and others?
That is
love
absolutely
that.
right.
Beautiful
Yes.
statement.
See, this is why Brian's here. Like, it's amazing.
And we got...
I'm a lucky guy.
You're a lucky guy and an insightful one, it seems like. So we got the Ten of Cups. So if we wanted something that will help us heal, this is a card that will totally help us do it.
Tell us more.
Tell us more. The Ten of Cups. This is emotional connection. networking, relationships. Yes,
We're doing it right now.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, okay, so we are separating and looking in separate directions. The way to combat that is to look at each other, to hear each other, to listen to each other, to remember. And these are cups, and our other cup was the Knight of Cups, which was your goal, your passion, the thing that fulfills. This is the 10 of them. If we all look at what really matters to our heart and not necessarily, the brains, the semantics, the things like that, look in your heart and realize what actually matters to you. Put your energy and attention there. Focus on that, not the things that divide.
I agree with that. And that's why I think, and Kelly has been helping me too, since I opened my business this last spring. We work as a collective community. We try to help one another. We reach out to each other and support one another in this community. Because my famous saying that I use at my store is, heaven forbid, when they all come at us, with the pitchforks and the fire and the torches again, like they did back in the, medieval times, we're going to have to stand with our backs together and fight and push outward to take care of each other and protect one another in our communities. And I do believe that we need to do that. We need to take care of one another so that we can walk a line and be healthy and still have our voices heard, but in a gentle way without being, hurtful to one another.
What's funny is I'm sitting here watching you guys, and the beauty is, so I'm a pitcher girl, so I've been seeing the division and how everybody needs to, they need to like blow it up, right? I'm seeing fireworks, but once the fireworks go off and explode, then the dust kind of comes down and settles, and maybe the rest of the year, because we're in September and we were talking off camera about, or maybe on camera, I don't know. It's all gets a blur, but retrograde and these, I guess astrologically, we are in the same space that we are in 1776.
Yes.
So, I mean, that the American Revolution, talk about a like explosion. But after we explode, we come down and we've got the anger, we puffed. You know how you, like when you're breathing, you just, and then you come down and then you're a little bit more grounded and you're a little bit more ready to listen. And maybe that's what we need to get that explosive energy out so we can all come down and then we look around and go, hi, friend, it's nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Rather than you like this person or you like this person or you have this or you have that, rather than it's like, oh, hello, old friend. It's nice to see you.
Very well said, Kelly.
Yes!
Very well said.
I did it again. Right? And maybe we need to puff that energy and that fear and that frustration and all of that out so we can come down and unify.
Right. Well, she joked about the tower. It's not, what you're talking about sounds like a version of the tower.
Yes, it is. So, Brian, I have a really quick question for you because I'm just curious. So, where in Massachusetts are you?
Okay, Brian. You can take it off mute.
Sorry.
That usually helps.
I was so involved.
You were. I know. We watched it. You're like so you're involved.
I want to tell the audience. This is what just happened. I was so involved in listening that I forgot I was even here. And you were saying my name, and I was like, I can't wait to hear what Brian says. I'm sure it's going to be great. But this is so funny. I'm going to answer your question. I'm just outside of Boston. And it was really interesting, Kelly. So Kelly always sees the pictures. I love it. Like, she sees the pictures, and I kind of get some words sometimes. And Kelly, just before you said what you said, what came through to me was based on the card that Barbara pulled. It was like, if we don't take a moment before we speak, it's going to be fireworks because we're so kind of at odds energetically. Mm-hmm. And so what I was getting was like, okay, knowing all of that, I have noticed in my own world that I practice very disciplined. Like, if I'm engaging in some kind of conflict, I will literally walk away for 24 hours. I won't open that email for 24 hours. I won't respond to that text. And I, across the board, have made much better decisions and probably salvaged some relationships and things like that. So it was crazy that you said that, because I was getting the words fireworks, Kelly, and then it was like, well, if we all just take a breath before we emotionally respond to everything, because we're in that state where it's like you were saying, you know, I like this person, I don't like that person. It's like, well, if we just pause for a second, it would be like, well, I don't really hate that person. I disagree with some things that they say. Anyway, I just think there's an opportunity for some pause for all of us.
I think that's super important. One of the things I like to think about a lot is the space between the stimulus and the response, which is what
yes.
you're talking about, right? You can react or you can respond. And I'm going to talk like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't.
You go, girl.
I left social media I think 7 years ago. So I'm going to talk about social media like I know.
Okay.
But it feels like social media has really trained us to be reactionary.
I do think you're correct in a lot of response with that, because there are so many different platforms now. You can't keep up with it. And as soon as you think you know the one platform, they switch it and you're going to another one. You can't stay ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. And they drive, I wouldn't say it actually drives productivity in certain things, and merchandising, and the way people feel about things or how they're reacting to things around the world. And sometimes they don't, when you're seeing it on social media, sometimes people don't take the moment to pause, as you were saying, and actually educate themselves. Go and look up and see, well, is this real, or is this really a real deal that I'm seeing out there on social media, or is this some kind of a propaganda of some sort? People aren't taking that little extra time, and if we all did that, I think that, as Kelly would say, the fireworks would kind of settle down, and people may not be so hot under the collar, and we're going to remember, about the humanity that we have, because I feel like we're losing a little bit of our humanity in a way, and it's a sad thing. You and I grew up in an era where, holy cow, if you had a TV, that was pretty amazing. I remember having just the black and white
I was going to
TV.
say, I remember when we got the color TV. It
Oh
was
my
a big
gosh,
deal.
it was a big deal.
And then when the remote came out.
Oh my gosh, watch out. You didn't
I
have to go
know.
across the room. Or wait, it gets better. We had what? Channel 2, 4, 5, and 11. And when we got Channel 9, wow, was that amazing.
For
I didn't
sure.
get Channel 45 because I wasn't that lucky. Mm-hmm. But, look at what the younger generations have now compared to what we did. It has changed the way we look at the world. It really has.
Okay, just imagine. I was talking to someone the other day. By the way, Jody's mom just came in, just telling you like that. She wanted me to go over and give you a hug, and I'm like, I'm kind of in the middle of a radio show, but let's just love to Jody's mom. Think about if you could go back to your younger self and go, you're going to be able to have this device that you can stick in your pocket, and you can access, because everyone had the encyclopedia, and if you were lucky to have the brand new encyclopedia, you were like rocking and rolling. But you're going to have this device that, by the way, is a phone, but it's a better camera. It has access to the internet. Oh, by the way, there's going to be an internet where you go on this thing and you type in a question and 100 things pop up instantly. And then let's talk about apps. And then let's talk, anything you could dream of or imagine is going to be in your fingertips. And by the way, we're giving these to children when they barely are old enough to hold it. It would blow your mind.
Well, I would actually ask you if your name was Joan Jetson, because I'd want to know, if that's what your name
Judy.
is.
Judy Jetson.
Judy Jetson.
Yes.
So sorry.
I know.
Okay. I was going to ask about your maid, the robot maid.
Right?
Can you imagine now, if we have what we have now, what's it going to be like in 20, 30 years for my grandchildren? What's their world going to look like?
Well, there's a book, I forget the author, but the book's called Feed, F-E-E-D.
Oh, I've heard of this.
And it might give a clue to what the future might look like, because it's one of the aspects of it is the phone part, the internet connection part, is in you.
Oh, sure.
And what's kind of interesting, because how everything is, if you can afford the best, it works well. And if you have to have the old stuff, or, this book also explored that. Like, if you have a poor phone and I have a great phone, there's a disparity there. If your thing in your head is poor quality, broken down, second rate, and then I have the good, expensive one that just really continues to lengthen or widen the division
It
between haves and have-nots. So, anyways, feed if you want to know what the future might possibly look like in
I'm
terms
gonna
of
have
that.
to look into that one.
I was about to say, you're coming up with a good books.
Yeah, we're going to have to look into this, Cal.
Books are amazing.
Oh, I love books.
Oh,
I
my
love to read
goodness.
them. I have to hold them and touch them. I don't like to do the Kindle stuff. I want to hold them and touch them and put them in my collection. And
I know when you asked if you told your younger self you would have all that, what would you do? And my first thought was, I would cry, because one of the things I miss so much is the card catalog at the library. Right? I know.
So we review books, we review cards, and I always ask publishers, send me a hard copy, because I love, like what Jody said, I love touching it and feeling it. And when I received your preview deck of Trick or Treat Tarot by Barbara Moore, everybody, here we go, in studio today.
yes,
I love the packaging.
it's beautiful.
And you had to invest to be able to. I mean, you invite the experience from the minute you hold it. Like, you could just have this in a little brown bag, right? Or you can throw it in just like a quick little Amazon box. But it is an experience when you open it up, and then you feel the book, and then the cover art, and then you get to the cards. So it's like you almost
crazy.
get to the cards later on, and then you even have this beautiful picture when you lift the cards up. I mean, so it was very thoughtfully done and curated with your partnership with Llewellyn, and you invested time and money in that, and it just invites you to want to play with these cards and have fun with these cards. And
Absolutely.
you guys, segment 2 is done. And oh my gosh,
I know.
I am so sorry that we have to wrap up right now and move on to the next segment. But Barbara, Jody,
Yes.
Brian, everyone's being curious.
Oh,
we're
you
all
know
over the
it.
board.
We
We are. We're like we came in here to talk about these beautiful deck of cards, and we went on to craziness, which is always where we go when we're being curious. Brian and Kelly, AM 950. Check us out, edgemagazine.net, Midwest Witchery
And healing.
I always say that wrong.
It's okay.
Trick or Treat Tarot. Oh my gosh, you guys. More to come.
Welcome back, everyone. The Being Curious Show. Kelly and Brian. Segment 3. We've got Jody and Barbara. We are having fun. We're having a lot of fun.
We
Yeah,
really
I
are.
I mean, I had so much fun last segment. I totally just was not here anymore. People were asking me questions. I was like, yeah, let's hear what he has to say. Oh, that's me.
I'm curious what this Brian's guys, what he's got going on.
So are we going to do another card in segment 3? Does
I think we
someone have
should.
another question?
Okay, what's
Or-
our question?
Who wants to ask a question?
Kelly, you're up.
You know what? Let's talk about tarot first.
Yes.
And because I think that'll lead us into the question that we're supposed to be asking, because for anybody that is listening on Apple Podcasts or AM 950, and they're like, they keep talking about these cards, and she created all these beautiful. What are the King of Cups, and what are these things? Let's talk about. What is tarot? What got you interested in tarot? And am I saying it right? Because I've heard it tarot. Like, I just want to make sure that I'm not slaughtering this beautiful word.
Both those pronunciations are perfectly acceptable.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
The dialect, it depends on where you're coming from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jody, for that. That was very nice of you.
Okay, well, I will try to. That's a big question.
It is a big question.
So I'm going to try to be really succinct. If I go too long, just
You
cut
have
me off.
14 minutes, so it's
Well,
okay.
we want to help out other things, I'm sure. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know anything about tarot, I think I would start, because this would, I think, alleviate fears if people have them.
Good way to do it.
Important to remember, tarot was invented in the 15th century, Renaissance period, Italy. It was invented for one reason only: to play a game.
That's right.
It's called tarocchi. It's very much like bridge. People still play it today. When I was living in Italy for a short time, because I was working for an Italian tarot card publisher, and they have They're newsstands that sell newspapers, magazines, cigarettes, and tarot cards. And the older men go buy a pack of cards, sit at a coffee shop, and play taraki to this day. So
Awesome.
Yeah. So remember, it started off as a game. Then it has, of course, obviously evolved over the centuries. I'll skip all those centuries, bring us to the 20th century, because that is really what affects us today. So around 1909 was the Rider-Waite Tarot was published.
Yes.
And that was a really groundbreaking, revolutionary kind of a deck. One of the reasons it was so important is because the older tarot decks, the suits looked a lot like playing cards. This deck has pictures on all the cards, making it much more intuitive, much more easier to read, much more accessible to anybody. So that deck kind of changed tarot. It's also, people started using it for divination. Also for magical purposes, because the people who made those decks were from the Golden Dawn, and they were very much into their magical practices. So we have the Rider-Waite Tarot. It came from a game, but now we have these ideas about what to do with it and how to use it. It was used for divination, and today we still use it for divination. But tarot has evolved over the centuries, and it's evolved on many, many different levels. So one of the levels is, and all those changes reflect changes in our society, our evolving consciousness, things like that. Because tarot is both a mirror, it reflects back what you know, believe, and think, and it's also a key to open doors to greater wisdom and understanding. So it kind of works. It's a multi-purpose tool. It's a Swiss Army knife. It's amazing. So, am I going way off the track?
No, you're
here?
doing great.
Oh,
Okay.
you're doing wonderful.
Okay. So, we have tarot. It was used for divination. Back in those days, people's social status defined their life.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
you could
it
do a
did.
reading about the future. It wasn't that hard because you kind of knew, because hardly anyone broke out of what they were born into.
Right.
Well, then in the 70s and 80s, psychology became very popular, and the scholars at the time were really applying, especially Jungian psychology, to tarot cards, and really shifting it away from the stereotypes of the horror movie fortune teller. And now we're kind of in a place where tarot readers are almost seen as therapists or life coaches or things like that. So it's a big pendulum swing.
Yes.
My prediction is that it's going to swing back a little bit because, well, one thing I'm curious about is why do people come to tarot readers? If you want advice about getting a job, why wouldn't you take that $150 and go to a career counselor?
Instead of a
Tarot
divination.
reader, right? Well, you come to a tarot reader because mainstream sources of sensible information aren't serving you. And you're coming to a tarot reader not for more of that, but for someone who can touch something else.
It's like
that-
thinking outside the box is what it is instead of the normal psyche. you know?
Right. And in psychological terms, that for sure. But then in mystical terms, a tarot reader is tapping into a world that a career coach may not be. And I think that's why people come. So I think there's going to be a shift back to a little bit more of our roots of being a fortune teller. Okay, and the cards change too a lot. Like the Fool card in the older decks was like the village idiot. Oh, I hate saying that word, but like that. A crazy person on the fringes of society. Usually his pants are hanging down, dog biting his butt, not a sympathetic character. Now the Fool is a beautiful, pure soul who is just beginning a new journey. So a big, big difference. Another difference that really shows our changing outlook on us as humans. The Strength card used to show like a Hercules figure beating a lion. And what that represented was you had strength over your animal self, your innate passions and feelings. You controlled them. Now the Strength card shows a lovely young woman who is assisting, helping, kind of comforting the lion. So now we know those parts of ourselves that we don't like, and we've put them in shadow, they're not to be hated and feared and beaten, but to be healed and reintegrated into ourselves. So the pictures on the cards change to reflect how we've changed. And what we do with the cards changes. We don't necessarily just tell a fortune. You can, and that's a great place to start, but you can do more. You can explore, well, if I do this, what will happen next? What's the best way to solve this personal relationship conflict? You know, you can use the cards for so much more than just laying them down and saying, that's your future set in stone.
I love it. I love it that you can change it. You know what I mean? Because we do have that free will, and I love it that you're bringing that out. Because and another thing too, and help me out with this because you've read for many years. You know, a lot of people believe that the only way that you can get a tarot deck is if somebody hands it down to you. Now, me personally, I don't believe that. What is your thought process on that?
Since I make decks for people to buy, obviously, I am not of that opinion. So no, I don't think your deck has to be handed. Now, if someone hands down a deck to you, that's very special.
It is definitely very
and to be
special.
treasured, and especially if you bond with it, to work with it. But I don't think it's necessary at all. In fact, because tarot is a tool,
Right.
you want one that fits you, that
Exactly.
resonates with you. You know, if you're buying, so there are so many decks available today. Anybody can find a deck that's going to suit them both aesthetically and in terms of the theme. For example, if you're into witchcraft or magical practices, there are decks that are themed around that. If you like cats, there is 1,001 cat decks out
my
there.
gosh, yes.
There's just
So, Barbara, is there a project or a deck, a book that you've always wanted to write about, but you haven't had the opportunity, or is what's coming down the pipeline on some of that for you?
Right, yes. Okay. So there is a project I would like to work on someday, but I don't know if it would be wildly popular, so I'm kind of keeping it for maybe when I retire. But you can use tarot for transformation. And I have kind of been working for years now with this transformative process that is shown through tarot, through the major arcana. Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
really kind of cool because you use it, you can trace like how you came to be the person you are, what wounds you got, and how to transform them, and then what happens after that, because transformation is
I'd buy that book. I'd buy those. I'd play with those.
I'm
just
like,
saying.
I'm over here going, why are you waiting for retirement? Why aren't you on this like right now?
Brian, I just did one arm rather than two. That's only a half.
Well,
You definitely
it
should
would-
jump on it now, I think. I think now would be the time because I think people would really relate to that.
Well, I will take that under advisement.
And I know, too, Barbara, you know, for those of you that are seeking to learn more about tarot, Barbara wrote a lot of cool books. And, you know, Tarot Your Way is one of them. And there's a different one, too. And I'm just drawing like, it's Your Tarot, Your Way, Modern Guide. No, Tarot Made Easy, my apologies. And she's even written a book, too, for energy clearing, Modern Guide to Energy Clearing. All of these books that she has written are wonderful books. But
Do you carry them at your store by chance?
I do.
Okay,
I carry
cool.
a lot of Barbara's works at my place in Stillwater. It's Midwest Witchery and Healing.
What's the address?
It's 324 Main Street South. It's suite number 7. All you got to do is walk in the Grand Garage right off of Main Street and look for the purple door. And now I got purple twinkle lights there, too. So you can find me easier. But we have tarot readers there. I have divination readers there. And I want to get Barbara in. We need to get her into the store. Maybe we can work with Llewellyn. And I'll call my contacts there who happens to be
Barbara
somebody
might know a couple people there.
I know she does.
Just checking.
And we'll get you in there with some decks and some of your books. Let's do a signing, you guys. I think that would be fantastic to do. But I sell her book, Tarot Made Easy. Like, I can't keep it on the shelves. It's a great starter book for those that are just getting into it and really want to understand it and learn it. Because, guys, anybody can do this. Anybody can do it. You can all learn how to do this. It's a wonderful tool. I love that people use it for divination. Now, I play with it. I just don't have the cards memorized. I mean, I have to go and cheat with the little book that Kelly was so lovingly playing with earlier that
Oh, yeah, I
talks
love
about
the book.
cards.
I have no
But that's how
shame.
I
Like,
have
I
to
just
do
do it.
that. That's how I have to
I
do
still
it.
look at the book for one. I look at my own book sometimes.
Okay.
It's okay.
So we never pulled for the third segment, and we only have a couple minutes
okay.
left. So what are we supposed to take away from our interview?
Yes.
And what's our action?
Okay. Do you want to?
No, I'm gonna let you do it.
All right. So the takeaway: ten of wands.
What's that mean?
Why do you say?
I don't know.
good thing.
I said that, and then I was like, and then I saw the energy, and I was like, oh, okay. My words came out before your response. So.
Interesting response. So, but a takeaway is kind of appropriate. We've talked about a lot of things today.
Oh, you think?
Oh, yeah. And so perhaps the listener may feel a little bit overwhelmed.
Possibly.
Yes. So the takeaway here is, yes, there was a lot. If you're not retaining or even interested in all of it, that's fine. Take the opportunity to sift through everything. Pick what you're actually interested in and make it your own.
I love
yes.
that. Make it your own.
Yes, make it your own.
That, yeah, we did cover a lot of different, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had fireworks going, we had division and coming together, we had Jody's mom.
Yeah, for those of you guys that weren't able to hear it, Kelly was chit-chatting, and my mom came in. I lost my mom in July, and she went over and bugged Kelly and said, hey, go give Jody a hug. And she's like, I'm busy. I'm running a radio show. I can't do it. But she was twinkling the lights. She was pretty excited, and that was really lovely for me because I miss her dearly. But I know she's with me all the time.
Jody had her grand opening, and it was one of those days where I was like supposed to be in 5 places at once, and I made sure to get down there. And I just saw your mom beaming. She was so proud.
Oh, yeah.
And so excited for her daughter. And I'm so glad. And I was called to get you two together. And Barbara, I really see you and Jody having a connection moving forward, and that to be able to have your beautiful works and they're tools, but they're beautifully crafted, and your books and your cards and your knowledge to be a part of this beautiful community.
Definitely.
And to have this playground of sacred playground of Midwest witchery and healing in Stillwater, and Jody will be a cheerleader and ambassador on so many different ways. And I think you guys could have like your own little like lab of playing.
I think my mom is chiming in again.
I think
she's giving you some winks there.
Right? I'm getting like this. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm supposed to wrap a show up. Okay, so Barbara.
Yes.
How do we find not only this deck, but all of your other beautiful pieces of work?
Well, I hear there's a store in Stillwater.
There is this great store in Stillwater. There's one, Brian. One more.
I think it's called Midwest Witchery and Healing.
I've heard, or something like that. The host keeps mispronouncing. No,
I do. I'm really good at that.
Oh, but yeah. So the book, okay. I suppose last resort, Amazon. Yeah, any local bookstore, your local bookstore, if they don't have it, they can order it. It's widely available anywhere in the U.S. Anywhere.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Hey, Jody, how do we find you?
You know what? You can find me at MidwestWitcheryandHealing.com. Or you can come on in to Stillwater at 324 Main Street South in Stillwater.
And you can get Barbara's works
at my place.
Yay!
And you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And now I'm on TikTok too.
Okay, so on behalf of Brian and Kelly and Witch Jody and Barbara, get the cards, get the books, be curious.
Yes, be curious.
And be well. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.